Number 60. ABC6 base 14 plus ABC6 base 15 is equal to what in base 16? So I'm going to convert both of these to base 10, and then once I do that, I can add them because they'll be in the same base, and then once I do that, I can just convert back to base 16. So let's see, ABC6 base 14 to base 10. So to do this, we're going to use a place value concept. The same way that numbers in base 10 use a place value concept. For example, here we have 4 ones and then 3 tens and then 2 hundreds and 3 thousands. You can do that for different bases too, except they're different in this way. So a ones place would be the same thing as 10 to the 0th. Tens place would be 10 to the 1st. Hundreds place would be 10 squared. And thousands place would be 10 cubed. So you would basically, if you wanted to find out what this number was, you would just take 4 times 10 to the 0th, plus 3 times 10 to the 1st, plus 2 times 10 squared, plus 1 times 10 cubed. And if you added those all together, it's just place value, you would end up with 1,234. So we're going to use the exact same logic for converting from different bases to base 10. So let's see, we have 6 ones to start off with. We have C numbers of 14 to the 1st. We have 14 squared times B, and then 14 cubed times A. And you might be wondering what these different letters are, but this is actually what happens whenever you have bases higher than 10. You kind of run out of numbers to use. So we're used to just 1 through 9, but then if you're in base 14, then you would have a number 410. And so A is the number, or is the letter rather, that we use to represent the number 10. And then B would be 11, C is 12, D is 13, and for base 14, that's all there is. But if you had higher bases, like base 15, you might say like E equals 14. But this can just go on and on. But that's what they're talking about. So let's see. I'm going to replace all of the numbers, or all the letters, with their corresponding values. So instead of C, I'm going to say that's 12. Instead of B, I'm going to say that's 11. Instead of A, I'm going to say that's 10. So if I add all these together, I'm going to use a calculator for this because I don't want to do this by hand. So it will be 6 plus 14 times 12 plus 14 squared times some number I can't remember. 14 squared times 11. Yes, 14 squared times 11. And then plus 14 cubed times 10. Add all that together, I get 29,770. So 29,770. Alright, now I just have to do the exact same process for the base 15 number. So ABC6 base 15, base 10, use the exact same logic. So it'll be 6 plus C times 15 to the 1st, plus B times 15 squared, and then plus A times 15 cubed. Now if I replace all the letters with the corresponding numbers, C would be 12, so 12 times 15. And then B is 11, so 11 times 15 squared. And then A times 15 cubed would be 10 times 15 cubed. And if I put all these together, so I get 6 plus 12 times 15, and then plus some other number I can't remember, 11 times 15 squared, and then plus 10 times 15 cubed. So I get 36411, 36,411. 36,411 base 10. So now I've converted both of these numbers to base 10, and now I have to add them, and now I can add them because they are in the same base. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to say, well, if I add these, that plus that, so I get 66,181. Let me see, 66,181. And I'm actually going to erase some stuff because I've run out of room. This stuff out of the way. Okay, yeah, so now I have, now basically what the problem is I have 66,181 base 10, and I have to convert that to base 16. And it's going to be a very similar method, but just kind of in reverse. So I can see from my answer choices that this is going to have 5 digits. So I have 5 digits. It's going to be the same kind of place value deal. So the ones place will be the 16 to the 0th. The tens place will be 16 to the 1st, and then 16 squared, and 16 cubed, and 16 to the 4th, the same way that we've been doing. So let's see. We need to work from left to right. And the way we do that is, well, if we have 66,181, how many times will 16 to the 4th go into that number? Or maybe to understand this a bit better, let's say we had the same number we had before, just 1,234. And let's say we were trying to write this in base 10. Well, if you started at the ones place, you would have no idea where to stop, because you could just say 1,234. Well, that's just 1,234 ones, right? And that doesn't really work because we don't have a digit for that. And plus, it goes over our requirement for base 16, or goes over our maximum number of digits for base 16. And so you have to start with whatever's biggest. So you would say you would have 1 in the thousands place. And that way, when you get to the hundreds place, you know, well, it's not possible for me to go over because my number is under 1,000. So we have to use that same kind of logic here. So first we need to find out how many times 16 to the 4th will go into 66,181. And I can just do that by dividing by 16 to the 4th. And it looks like it goes in just over one time. Just barely one time. So I'm going to have a 1 right here. And then the same way with 1,234, the example I used before. I should probably stop erasing that. Turns out I'm going to need that a lot. The same way you have 1,234, if you've already used up your 1,000, or in this case your 16 to the 4th, you don't need it anymore. And in fact, it would hinder you in trying to find the other places. So I'm going to subtract 16 to the 4th from 66,181. So minus 16 to the 4th. That's to the 5th. That's my bad. Minus 16 to the 4th. And you get 645. So, in other words, this 16 to the 4th has already been accounted for because we've already given it this 1 in this place value. And now we just have to convert the rest of this to these other place values. So, the next step is to say, well, how many 16 to the 3rds will go into 645? And my hunch is that it's going to be 0 because 645 is pretty small. So 645 divided by 16 to the 3rd, and it looks like, yep, so it's going to be less than 1, which means it doesn't go in any times. It doesn't go in any number of times. So I'm actually going to have a 0 right here. And then now we're looking for the 16 squared place. Also note that by looking at your answer choices, you can kind of tell that this is going to be a 1 and 0 because all of your answer choices begin with a 1 and a 0. So, and in fact, if you look here, all of these have different number in their third place value. And so if you're feeling confident that you did this addition correctly, we could actually just find out what this number is right here, and we'll use that to pick our answer. So let's find out how many 16 squares will go into 645. So to do that, just take 645 divided by 16 squared, which is 256. I do that, looks like it goes in a little more than 2 times. So we're going to have a 2 right here in the 16 squareds place. And from that, we can probably tell that this is going to be E. But for the sake of the problem, I'm going to go ahead and finish it. So we've already used up one of our 16 to the 4ths, which we subtracted. We didn't have any 16 cubes, so we didn't subtract anything. And now we've used up 2 of our 16 squareds. I'm going to take 645, subtract 2 times 16 squared. And I'm left with 133. So now I'm left with 133. So now let's find out how many 16 to the 1st will go into 133. If it's 8, probably means we're on the right track. So let's see, 133 divided by 16, that's not very helpful. So you get 8 and a little bit more. So looks like we've done everything correctly so far. So it goes in 8 times. Now we've used up 8 of our 16 to the first, so we can subtract that out. And once we're done with that, we should be left with just our ones place. So 133 minus 16 times 8, not divided by 8, 16 times 8, and we're just left with 5 for our ones place, which I think, yes, that corresponds exactly with answer choice E. And on a time test, it's important that you use your answer choices to your advantage. Like I said earlier, you didn't really have to do this 1 and the 0. You could have done that off the bat without having to do any division. You could have just subtracted 16 to the 4th from the beginning. And then once you've realized that, you can say, well, whatever number I get here in the 16 squareds place, they're different across the entire problem. So like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And so once I see this, I can say, oh, well, my answer choice is E, because it's the only one it could be. Alright, so if you have any questions from other tests, make sure to leave a comment and I'll make a video with a solution. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Investigative Math, and I will see you next time.